There are days when history shifts so violently, the world seems to exhale all at once. November 22nd, 1963 was one of those days. But what if it hadn't been? Today, we turn our attention to a singular moment in American memory. A moment etched so deeply into the nation's psyche that even now, more than half a century later, we remember exactly where we were when we heard it. The president has been shot. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, young, charismatic, war hero, Harvard-educated, silver-tongued, and cloaked in myth even while alive. A man whose presidency represented a kind of American ambition, not just of power, but of purpose, of poetry, of potential. But in our timeline, it ended in a motorcade in Dallas, in an open convertible, with blood on Jackie's pink suit. And in that moment, history hardened. Camelot became a eulogy. And a generation lost something it never quite recovered. The belief that America could be both powerful and good. But what if he had lived? What if, by the slimmest margin, a misalignment of aim, a gust of wind, a second's delay, the bullet had missed its mark, or merely grazed him? What if JFK had stood up in that convertible, dazed but breathing, and the world had gasped, not in mourning, but in shock and relief? What kind of president would he have become? What kind of nation? This is not a conspiracy theory. It's a thought experiment, one grounded in the science of survival, the politics of ambition, and the mythos of what might have been. So today, we peer into that alternate lens, where John F. Kennedy did not die in Dallas. He woke up the next morning, very much alive, his vision forever changed, his mission reborn. And so we ask, what if JFK had survived? Welcome to Parallel, a mix of storytelling and thought-provoking what-if scenarios, combining narrative fiction and analysis that includes real-world science, philosophy, and potential real-world implications. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment so that you do not miss out on the next episode. Because, one reality, says T-Boom, is never enough.
They say I'm lucky, that the bullet missed my skull by a whisker, that I should be grateful. But how lucky can a man be? Jackie saw the blood, thought I was dead. For a few seconds I did too. I've had close calls before. PT 109, the back pain, even the damn Addisons. But this was fate knocking. And I'm still here. The doctors keep saying it's a miracle. But I can't shake the thought. Someone wanted me dead. Someone thought I was worth more to the past than to the future. Well, I've got news for them. I'm not finished. No more half measures. No more cautious politics. If I was spared, I intend to earn it. I'll push for civil rights no matter what it costs me in the South. I'll get us out of Vietnam. Johnson says we're too deep. Maybe we are, but it's still a choice. The CIA? I want the names. No more secrets in the shadows. And Castro, God help me, I won't let my vengeance speak louder than my principles. And Bobby, he looked at me yesterday like he'd seen a ghost. I think we both know something's changed. America doesn't need another martyr. It needs a leader with nothing left to lose. Well now, maybe that's who I am.
The historical reality, what actually happened. In our timeline, 62 years ago, November 22nd, 1963, marked the death not just of a man, but of an era. JFK was assassinated in Dallas. Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested, and 2 days later, shot by Jack Ruby, turning tragedy into theater. The Warren Commission would declare Oswald acted alone. America largely never believed it. In Kennedy's absence, Lyndon B. Johnson assumed the presidency. He pushed through the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Yet, at the same time, he escalated the war in Vietnam, sending hundreds of thousands of young Americans to fight in a jungle they barely understood. Robert Kennedy, JFK's younger brother, entered the fray. But he too was cut down before his vision could be realized. And through it all, the public's trust in government began to erode. From Vietnam to Watergate, from the Pentagon Papers to Iran-Contra, JFK became frozen in myth. Forever young, forever hopeful, forever unsullied by the realities of a second term. But what if we had seen the man grow old? The science. Could he have survived? The fatal shot that ended Kennedy's life struck him in the head, but only by inches. Anatomically speaking, had the bullet deviated just slightly, it might have passed along the skull without penetrating it, causing a deep gash, a concussion, but no terminal trauma. Parkland Memorial, despite the chaos, had experienced trauma teams. A conscious, bleeding Kennedy could have been stabilized. With today's neurosurgical knowledge, we understand just how close life and death can lie. 1 centimeter, 1 moment, 1 miracle. In this parallel, he wakes up, scarred, shaken, but intact. And with that survival comes clarity. Who would have benefited if JFK had survived? The Civil Rights Movement. JFK had been slow to move, but he was moving. By 1963, he had introduced sweeping civil rights legislation. Survival could have galvanized him. With a living, impassioned JFK facing re-election in 1964, civil rights might have passed with his name on it, not Johnson's. Imagine. JFK walking with Dr. King, not eulogizing him. Vietnam. Kennedy was wary of escalation. In October 1963, he signed NSAM 263, planning to withdraw 1,000 troops. After his death, Johnson reversed course. Had JFK lived, the war might have de-escalated or ended before its darkest years. Hundreds of thousands of lives, Vietnamese and American, might have been spared. The intelligence state. Kennedy distrusted the CIA after the Bay of Pigs. If he believed, rightly or wrongly, that elements within intelligence circles were involved in his near death, he may have sought the biggest restructuring of U.S. intelligence in modern history. Accountability, long before Snowden or the Church Committee. And of course, the Kennedy legacy. Instead of being martyred in myth, JFK would be measured by his deeds. Bobby might have remained Attorney General longer. Ted may not have carried the burden of the dynasty alone. The Kennedy machine would have matured, not mourned. What about the wider societal impact if JFK had survived? The national psyche. The assassination introduced paranoia into the American bloodstream. It became the prototype of conspiracy. Without it, might Americans have trusted their institutions longer? Believed in leadership with more faith? The American conspiracy culture? Without Dealey Plaza, perhaps there's no Zapruder film, no Oliver Stone, no whispered doubts behind every historic tragedy, no template for distrust, pop culture and symbolism. JFK's martyrdom shaped music, film, literature. He became a symbol of loss. Had he lived, his image would be more complicated, but also more human. And of course, the Cold War. A second Kennedy term might have moved détente forward earlier. Would we have seen arms limitations or even peace summits with Khrushchev's successor, Brezhnev? History tends to fossilize its fallen. It's easier to worship a dream than to live with a flawed man. But in that alternate world, where Kennedy lived through November 22nd, the story would have been messier, harder, more political, and perhaps even more profound. Because maybe we didn't need a myth. Maybe we needed a president who could have changed, who could have risen from trauma, from survival, and said, "I'm not finished. Not yet." And maybe that would have changed everything. Thank you so much for listening in to this episode of Parallel. If you have an idea for a future episode, drop it in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really does help the channel grow its audience. Until the next episode, remember, one reality is never enough.